saying, God, you are my safe place. Your grace and your favor is where I go to in times of trouble. This is where I want to be when I don't think I can go on. And this is why when we look at Psalms, we see that they always refer to God as a strong tower, a refuge for the weak, a strong and mighty fortress. Because the idea is that when we give thanks is that we are talking about whenever things are not going our way. That we are saying, God, you are God. I know whatever it is I'm going through, I know you are going to work it out for your good. And I will, because it's being worked out for your good, I'm going to reap the blessings of it. As long as I sit right here and let you deal with the siege and allow me just to be in your holy presence. And to be honest, one of the things that I have learned about giving thanks is remaining in God while you're in the middle of a siege is not always easy. Because one of the things that we don't like to do as people is wait. We want to do things. We want to take matters into our own hands. And it can get rough. It really can. And so part of what it means to give thanks and to be thankful is not only willingness to abide in God and give thanks to Him for when things are good, but also willing to stop and give thanks for when things are not going so good. When you think that you can no longer last. When you think you can't do any more, you stop and you say, God, I give you thanks for this. You know, I mentioned that I keep a list of Thanksgiving, both for myself and for the church. There's quite a things that if you were to read my list and the church's list, you would not think are things that you would want to be thankful for. In my personal list, I'm thankful for people's passing away. Some people who are very important to me. Not so much thankful that glad they're gone. No, but I am thankful that they have moved on into glory. And that I grieve in a manner that others don't grieve in. But that I am thankful for their life. You also see things that I may not be so thankful for. Like several years ago, I was in a horrible car crash. That's on my list. You know, that took about a year's worth of pain and suffering. And dealing with things that most likely we're not very thankful to deal with. But it made my list. For the church, there are things on the church list that probably read and be like, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would you give thanks for that? I mean, I gave thanks that our lawnmowers were stolen. And this doesn't seem something that you would give thanks for. But yet God still used that moment to bless the church. Or I've also added on there, I gave thanks for the pandemic. Why would you give thanks for the pandemic? Not because of the suffering that it brought or entailed, but because of what the church has been able to do since then. That we have done and been pushed in ways that probably would not have been available to us unless it happened. And believe you me, it's not easy to sit there and say, give thanks to God for a pandemic when people are suffering. Because God doesn't want people to suffer. But being thankful means that we are willing to sit and give thanks to God. Because we understand that we have an unshakable kingdom. That God is not going to move. And therefore we are to wait in the midst of God. As the writer of Psalms 23:6 says, surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. By the way, that was David writing that as he was being hunted by Saul. Or Psalm 26:8. Lord, I love the house where you live, the place where your glory dwells. Or Psalm 61:4. I long to dwell in your tent forever and take refuge in the shelter of your wings. And finally, Psalms 84:10. Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. For we are taking the inheritance of God's grace and kindness, which he has extended towards us and given to us. And we are not going to remove ourselves from it. We are settling in with our tents, and we with the purpose of never leaving. We want to hold on to the unchanging grace of God, and we rejoice in what he has done for us. So we want to hold on to it. So by giving thanks to God, we're holding on to what he is offering to us. And we're never letting it go. And the final thing that I have learned through giving thanks, that I hope you also will learn from me as I continue to learn about what it means to give thanks, is that thanksgiving is a form of worship. That's right. Thanksgiving is a form of worship. When you are taking time to thank God for whatever blessing, help, guidance you have received from him, you are worshiping God. For when we are worshiping God with thanksgiving, we are recognizing the things he has done for us. We are showing respect, honor, and devotion to God who loves us and wants to draw near to us. And so the writer of Hebrews 12:28 says that we are to worship with reverence and awe. In the Greek, the translation for reverence is regarding with fear of God, which is about taking hold of what God calls good. That is, that we are not willing to take the risk of removing ourselves, going back to pitching our tent. That we are not taking the risk of removing ourselves from such